All right, so I'm a drum tech at a high school for a high school band. I've always used Evans heads and the Evans bass muffling. I love tuning basses. It's my favorite thing to do. Evans muffling makes it super easy, but the Evans muffling falls out all the time, and the school I'm with now uses Remo now. We are just putting together our new bass drums with our Remo heads, with our old Evans MX2s down there. 4 years old, COVID, hurricane, whatever. I had to figure out from scratch, not from scratch, I had a lot of help, but I had to figure out from scratch with help how to muffle these Remo bass heads. So I'm going to try and condense everything that I've learned in my workflow for you guys to hopefully make it easier when you guys have to change heads and you're not scrambling like I am. It's the week of homecoming. Told my kids that I would have their new bass drums ready to go for homecoming. Homecoming is tomorrow night, and I'm still putting heads on drums. So here's what you're gonna need. You're going to need this air conditioner weather seal, Home Depot, Lowe's, Canada Tire, whatever big box hardware store you've got. This comes in, this is the 1¼ inch by 1¼ inch. They also have 2¼ inch. The small stuff is good for your smaller drums. The bigger stuff you're going to want for your bigger drums. You're going to need 3M high strength 90 spray adhesive. You're going to need 2 cans at least. I have 5 drums, 16, 18, 20, 24, 28, and I ran out in the middle of changing heads yesterday, hence the crunch time. Another thing you're going to need: scissors to cut the foam, tape measure to measure the foam, masking tape to keep the foam on the drum while the spray adhesive cures, and you're going to need a bunch of these 55-gallon trash can liners. I'll show you why. So you're going to want to pre-cut your foam strips, and that's going to take a little bit of math. So the length of each strip is going to be pi times the drum diameter, just the circumference of a circle, times, we don't want the entire circumference, so we're going to reduce it by a factor depending on the diameter, and then divide that by 2, because you're going to straddle the vertical center line of the drum. So you're going to need 2 strips per side, so 4 strips per drum. And this is what we're using. 16-inch drum, we're using 65% of the circumference, and as the drum gets bigger, we're using more and more of the circumference to keep those overtones down. Just plug and chug all those numbers in. If you want to get really technical, we're using pearl drums. The shells are about 1/4 inch thick, so you can do 15.5 inches and 17.5 and then 19.5, whatever you want to do, however in the weeds you want to get about it. And this is my Sony spray station. I've got these garbage can liners laid out. You can see where I've already sprayed one drum on this one. And I do this so that I can just get the can in here and spray along the edge, and I know it's not going to get on my bearing edge. It's not the end of the world if it gets on the bearing edge. I just don't like stuff on my bearing edge. If it does, if you do get a little bit on, the next day after it all dries, you can just take some sandpaper and knock it all off. Now you're going to want to be a little generous with the spray adhesive, hence the 2 cans. And I just go along where I know I'm going to put the foam, like so. I'll just go back and forth a few times. Really let it get soaked into the wood. I'll come around here, get the other side. You also might want to consider doing this outside or with a door open and a fan going, because this stuff, I did this stuff for a couple hours yesterday and I was not feeling good. Here are my pre-cut strips of foam. I'm going to lay these out on cardboard, and then I'm going to spray this Now I'm gonna let all this adhesive sit for about a minute, let it get a little tacky. And I'll flip this over. In the meantime, I've already done this side. Once you spray it on and let it sit, you're gonna want to have it sitting up above about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Stick it in there. I leave the center line open, and I've pre-marked it with my kids with their carriers. I leave the center line open so they can go different playing zones. And then you take your blue masking tape and you go from the inside out, because this stuff wants to pull away from the edge as it's drying, and we want to keep it secured overnight while all this stuff cures. Tomorrow, take all the tape off, put the heads on, tune them up, sound beautiful. So just repeat that for however many bass drums you have. 2 strips per side. Spray on the glue to both the wood, the inside of the shell, and the foam itself. Let them both sit for at least a minute to get tacky before you stick it on. You want 1/8 of an inch, probably closer to 1/4 of an inch, sticking up above the rim to press against the head to do the muffling. I think it's taking me about 6 hours over 2 days to get this first round of bass drums muffled, but now that I've got a process ironed out, the next time I have to do this for these drums, I think I can get, I can probably spend 30-45 minutes pre-cutting all my foam, and then maybe 10 minutes per drum to spray, apply, tape, flip, spray, apply, tape, and then move on down the line. Honestly, this is probably faster than messing with all the Evans muffling system, but I get anxious making permanent changes to the drums like this. But I mean, here's one of the ones I did yesterday. I have the new head on, and it's just got a little bit of attention on it, just a little bit of a pre-tune, stretching out for tomorrow. And I mean, I don't know how this is going to sound on the phone camera, but it sounds really fucking good. It sounds really good.